Okay, Grace Schiffman, it is Tuesday, 4 o'clock Central, 5 o'clock Eastern.
Hi, everybody.
We are back. I'm Caryn Prall. You are
Grace Schiffman.
and we are part of the rain circle. Not rain in weather, rain in holding your space, investing in you, creating your world, because you are worth it. And that's what we talked about last week. So, a little recap of last week was us laying the foundation of why we're here and how we got here. Grace and I are of a certain age, and we have learned the hard way in everything we've done, whether it's starting a real estate business to owning rental properties to starting businesses, running huge communities. I mean, Grace, you represent like 17,000 plus people. It's unbelievable.
Well, you know
And my
what?
life,
We've learned a lot, Caryn, along the way. And one of the reasons we started the Rain Circle is to make sure that all of the little mistakes and the fail forwards that we had, that we show our sisters and our community how to build it better, stronger, and quicker than we did. So today is going to be another foundational piece that we want to share with you guys. And Caryn, please read out our disclaimer first, because we're going to be talking about tax strategies, LLCs, things like that. But there is a disclaimer.
we are not attorneys, we are not accountants, nor are we tax professionals. This is for informational use only. So please refer to your own tax professional. Of anything we say today, we are not going to be held liable. That's that's my do not get sued again, Caryn Prall conversation.
That's right. So the things we're going to be talking about are the things that we've seen and implemented in our own businesses. But like Caryn said, we're not professionals. We hire professionals to do all of these things. But this is just an overview of why we feel and why our experts have told us about the legal protections of LLCs. So why don't we start there a little bit, Caryn, and then we'll go through our presentation.
Yeah, we're really back to basics because women don't know where to ask questions. We're told to stay quiet. And how do we do this? And so I coach agents and leaders and businesses all around. Like, I'm the one that made us at Lady Leaders. I said, we need a corporation, we need an operating agreement, we need to form an LLC. So this is really important. Taylor Hunt, a top agent in the world, I was her first coach. Gosh, what a blessing. I get emotional about her. She's such a blessing. And this was something that was really, really important for me with her. She was like 25, 26 years old. And I'm like, let's get your life, your foundation separated, because I'm double your age, Taylor, and I had to go back and clean up. And forming an LLC as a real estate agent or an independent contractor, this applies to any business, is important. It's an asset protector, right? So if something, God forbid, happens, it is not going to affect your personal business. It can, however, because I can tell you all the mistakes I've made of commingling funds, and what a disaster. But also, it's an asset protector. It also increases your level of professionalism. When you're a corporation, it just has a different air about you. There's stuff on TikTok and social everywhere about like form an LLC and just go get a credit card. No, don't form an LLC and go get into some debt because you're still liable for it. Like, don't do dumb stuff like that.
And
Right.
and the one thing that I want to tell people is that forming an LLC really should be something that you talk to your accountant about, or your CPA about, or your tax attorney about. But here's what I feel about an LLC. All of us make money. All of us on this call are making money, but it's really important to protect the money and the assets that we're building, right? I look at an LLC almost like a box, right? This little treasure box that I have the Grace team in one, I have my properties in another. Because if something were to happen, then the personal things that my husband and I have grown, whether it's um, money in stocks or money in our savings account, are protected. Now, what Caryn said is very, very true. Some of the things that we need to talk about and kind of like put in your head is no commingling. So that's one of the hardest lessons that I ever learned is when I need something, I have to go back to, I have to write myself a check from something, right? Grace Schiffman, manager, the Grace team. All of these little things, we can teach you and talk about, but it's really important for us to just kind of like lay the foundation so that you can start thinking about the questions that you want to ask your professional.
You're right. And we're going to give some of our best resources too. And I'm going to actually expose mine. Like I'm going to show you behind the scenes what mine looks like on some of it, and why having a tax strategist works. So there's different types of LLCs. I'm not going to get into them because I'm not a tax professional. I'm only going to speak to what I know. But this presentation I also have done with my tax strategist and your tax strategist, Grace, now. Bill. So I credit him for protecting me. But when I was an agent about 10, 15 years ago, my accountant, I was living in Denver, Colorado. So it must have been 15, 20 years ago. Oh, he said, why are you not an LLC? And if it wasn't for that gentleman, he said, you are paying double taxes. Like, do you not understand? I said, no. So our guideline is if you're making over $60,000 a year or so, depending on what state, that you should consider forming an LLC. It's an asset protector, all the things we talked about, but it also, gosh, it tells me that where I need to reinvest in my business, right? So there's different types of LLCs. So I'm going to go to my handout and jump through this. Here's what I know is I own lots of businesses and some are in different, like we bought existing businesses. But if you're not a corporation, you actually don't have a business to sell. So if you're an agent and you just sell real estate, like you don't have an asset. If you're a corporation or an LLC, you actually have something to sell. And that's also for the legacy part of us, which is really, really important to me. So one of the first types of LLCs is sole proprietor, or this is just you doing a business alone. This is what you're doing is you're not a corporation, you're paying double taxes. So you're paying taxes rate at a 15% tax rate. That's federal. And you have to pay the employer's portion and the employee's portion. So like if you work a regular W-2 job, there's going to say tax withheld and tax contributed. The employer has to contribute taxes for all that. So, and I'm going to do a real life example of what that means. And I can stop and maybe do that now if I can really get this to work on my sharing my screen of, oh gosh, I hope I can do this on my iPad, but I don't know if I can, and I'm going to try. So I think it's really important because this is how someone broke it down for me. And so here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to make a Google sheet real quick and I'm going to share my screen on it. All right. So if someone is making, let's say that you earn, and good for you, $200,000 a year, and I haven't pulled up my worksheet yet. Okay. So this is totally winging it. Remember, I am not an accountant or a tax professional, but I do know about how to tax because this is what the gentleman said to me. So if I am a 1099 sole proprietor, okay, so that's going to be right here versus an LLC. And we're going to talk about the different LLCs in just a second, but let me just break this down. Can you see my screen okay?
We can.
You're going to laugh at my OCD because I am going to have to like make my margins good and everything, but I'm not going to do that today. Okay. So if I'm a 1099 employee and I can make this a little bit bigger, if and I make $200,000 in a year, I will have expenses. So my expenses are always going to be in two categories, a cost of sale or an operating expense. A cost of sale, just so all y'all know, is the cost of selling a home. An operating expense means an expense I have to pay no matter if I make money or not. Like, did you have a closing today? Did you not? Then you didn't make money. Okay. So if I'm looking at this and let's say my expenses, I pay to the brokerage fee, I pay them, let's say $25,000. I have advertising and photos and it's 10,000. Okay. And then I have technology. I'm going to keep it real basic. Okay. So if I look at this, this is going to show, this is my income, right? And then it's going to have my expenses. I am this old that I actually still manually write my formulas. So don't laugh.
Caryn.
I know, right? Who is this old? I am, but I'm an old soul here. Oops. Okay. So my net income is $160,000. Okay. If I'm a sole proprietor, I'm paying double taxes for the employer and the employee side on this amount. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm going to take these same expenses and I'm going to put them over here and same net income. What's different is I'm only paying taxes on this amount. 1099 are getting taxed on the gross. LLCs, we get something called a K1 that gets sent to our personal returns. That gets taxed on the net. So the more legitimate business tax write-offs I have, which we've got a list in here, the better. Does that make a basic sense?
It does, Caryn.
Overview?
It does. Yes.
Oh, perfect, perfect. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen and let's get back to this. So, as we're going through, a Schedule C is your sole proprietor. That's when you're paying both portions of the taxes. I have told people over the years you should consider forming an LLC, and they're like, no, and then they tell me 7 years later their accountant ask them why they have it. A C corporation, don't do one. I have one. It's awful. I don't know why it's awful, but it's awful and hard. So don't do one. An S corporation, this is a tax election. This is something that most LLCs and agents do. It's a form. I hate that I know the form. It's an IRS form 2553. But an S election, because you're allowed to take both salary, you have to pay yourself a reasonable salary, which is also great for legitimate income purposes. Like I can show that I'm on salary. I can also have a 401k. You can do retirement from it. And then you can also take distributions. So an S Corp election doesn't take any additional money. I believe you do need to do it within 90 days of your new corporation, but you can go back and retro do this. Okay. So it's the salary though is subject to the self-employment tax. Only the salary. This saved me $100,000 in taxes in the last year, thanks to Bill.
Who will introduce you to, well, his information later. Yeah. Thanks,
Yeah.
Bill.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Like he's like, you got to get yourself on a salary. By the way, you cannot have an LLC and with an S Corp election. I know this isn't exciting, but it's good information. If you don't pay yourself a salary and you're making income, it's like illegal. It's a violation, just so you know. Learn the hard way. So what can you write off? Remember, we want to get your income as low as possible and expensive. My car is under my business. You can buy rental properties under the LLC, which is an asset protection. When you travel for seminars and workshops, that's a business expense. Gifts, dues, meetings, events, bills, home office, internet. I have 2 internet providers at my house because I live in the sticks. So actually one's for business and one is personal. Mm-hmm. Anything, and then retirement plans. Grace, anything you want to add?
I think the important thing that we need to understand about tax write-offs and deductions is that we need to keep, like, I'm really bad. I mean, this is like personal information that maybe a lot of us have this. I don't ever remember what I've done like the last couple of months. So it's really important for when you give the information to your tax accountant or any other way that you do your taxes, that you keep a list of these write-offs, that you make sure that once a month that you're kind of putting them into like a little separate area of your brain or
tagging in your bank account.
Yes.
Or your credit card statement. You can
Yes.
tag.
Because it's very important. I mean, part of what Caryn and I have been able to do is write off a lot of money legally to keep more into our personal ability to purchase other assets. So make sure that all of these write-offs and deductions, that you keep track of them so that at the end of the year or whenever you do your taxes, you're not like hurrying up to gather all of this. And there's a lot of stuff that gives us the ability to do our business correctly and also use the advantages. There's nothing wrong with wanting to pay as little money as possible in your taxes. We need to make sure that we do it legally and correctly, and that way we pay as little as possible.
It's true. I mean, and also keeping it separate, commingling funds, we talk about it a lot. And what happens is, first I'm going to show you all where I go to form an LLC. We use an online provider. You can also invite your tax advisors. I'm going to really show my stuff. I probably should blur it. I don't know, but I'll show what my company uses, and it's called My Company Works. It's a really good system. Let me find my Chrome tab. It's a great system for us to then track everything. So I'm going to add a tab
And it's easy to
and
use.
log
My
in.
Company Works has
Yeah.
enabled us to, like, I have multiple LLCs. I mean, everything from the Marn group to Hispanic leaders, so everything is separated into LLCs. And we've been able to use this that Caryn actually told me about, to just kind of do like and take care of business the right way. So,
Yeah,
Caryn,
we do have
that,
a link at the end of this too.
yes.
Absolutely. And so let me show this screen tab though. So this is my Company Works dashboard. It shows my companies. It shows, and I'm just going to zoom through it because maybe that some of it's private. If they're red, they're closed. Like I've closed companies. I have my orders, and all my documents are here, and their library is insane. And like my vendors are in it. So my attorney and the business forms they offer, but it has everything in one place. It sends me my maintenance. It tells me what I need to do. I have a lot of notifications up here. If you notice, I have things that are due. But this company we're going to show in just a minute of where to start it. It is the most simple way, and the service is fantastic. So that's where that's step one, is you form the LLC. Now, don't worry about the name too much. I don't think you need to, unless look at your state licensing. We're not representing about your state licensing and how you have to practice your craft, whether it's real estate, mortgage, or another type of industry. But mine, I like to keep it very basic. So it's CP, like it's my initials and like a town I was living in, is how I do it, or the company. And then you file a DBA of how you're actually going to run businesses. So I own a brokerage. The LLC is BGMC for Batavia Geneva Market Center, but we're DBA Keller Williams Inspire as an example. Or it might be Schiffman Properties, DBA Grace Schiffman Real Estate Agent. Is that how you do it?
Well, I do it a little bit differently, but I don't use a DBA. I just use it straight. So because I've compartmentalized each one, it's easy. I
Okay.
mean, I don't have as many companies as you do, so mine are just easy peasy.
Yeah. I get that. So when you get your corporation, you're also requesting an EIN. My Company Works does it for me for like $25. I know I can do it for free. I just like all my docs in a place. It's an employer identification number. It's like your social security number for your business, right? And that's the number with everything. You also have to create an operating agreement because that's the legal document. Ours is templated for you in the system we use. And that's what you turn in to open up a business bank account. The beauty of running a business under the LLCs is it doesn't adversely impact your personal credit or your debt. Grace,
Correct.
last week we talked about when you buy rental properties under it,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
It's a protector. It doesn't negatively impact your personal credit.
And here's
So,
another easy thing, and I know that we're getting a little off track, but one of the things
no,
that I love
no.
about an LLC, on mine personally, is that I can open credit cards and use for that
Mhm.
business and doesn't affect my personal credit standing. So there's a lot of protection and a lot of avenues that are open by you opening
Yeah.
something as professional as an LLC.
My car is under my LLC for as an asset protector. God forbid there's an accident.
Hmm.
Right. I have a line of credit with Chase. I use Chase Commercial Banking. I have a great banker. To each his own. I've tried a lot of other platforms, but for me, it's just the easiest. Their business platform is excellent. So I have a great resource for that. But you take all this information, and your bank will tell you what you need to open up a business bank account, and you start there. That's it. Like that's how you start an LLC. Then you notify whoever you're working for, I have an LLC, so please, here's my information, my articles of incorporation, which are pretty templated. They'll get made for you. And here's my EIN number, which is an IRS form. And they will then start paying you. So make sure you're getting paid under your LLC. Otherwise, there's no point in having an LLC. Every check, every bill, every invoice should come from that corporation.
Correct. And it's very easy. I mean, your MCA just needs a copy of where you want your money
Mm-hmm.
sent. And if they want the copy in LLC, so does the bank. That's all they want to see. I just that you have
Mm-hmm.
formed, and then you're good to go.
Yeah. It's true. This slide shows the difference of LLC of different corporations. So it'll do an LLC with an LLC taxed as an S-Corp, a C-Corp, a general partnership, and a sole proprietorship. So take a screenshot of this slide because it could help answer some questions that you might have. Tax savings. This is giving an example of what I did. This is showing a $15,000 tax savings off the exact same expenses. So if you have $145,000 in profit, if you are an S Corp, you are only paying $6,800 in taxes versus a sole proprietor or single member LLC, $22,000. And that extra $15,000 could go into your retirement. It could go into an IRA. It could go pay for a vacation. You can take your kids to Disney for like 3 days on that because, that's expensive now.
That's right.
So the quick plug for Bill, he's my tax accountant, Gibson, and he is at WIDA Tax. And I had a QR code on my Canva, so I can see if I can pull that back up, that showed it. But it's widatax.com or WIDA. I always pronounce it wrong. Do you know which way it is? He's just
No.
Bill.
Yeah.
Really meets us where we are and really gets us organized. He's already sent me a 2-page spreadsheet of expenses that he needs to see where they go to. So I'm his worst nightmare because I do have a lot of businesses, but I will tell you the cost and money savings. There's other tax coaches out there. Taylor has a great tax coach that she uses as well. But it is something that I really, really find is quite important. So I'm going to pull that up because we also have a special code for our My Company Works. And I think that is an important link to have too. So if you want to take over for just a second while I pull that
Yeah.
up as well.
So, like I said, this was just an overview of what we do to protect our
Mhm.
assets. I think it's important for you to
Protect our asses or assets.
Caryn Prall. So this is what we go through a lot with her. Um, we need to protect what we've earned. And a lot of times an LLC seems scary or it's something that we don't need to do. It costs a little bit more, I have to tell you, to file taxes, because then you have a separate entity that you got to pay your tax account. But just really the things that we can do. I mean, anything could happen. If you own a rental property and it's just in your personal name because that's the way you bought it, and you don't put it in an LLC, the tenant falls, and he wants to sue you, he's going to sue you personally unless it's in an LLC. And if you've got retirement, if you've got whatever assets, they can go for that, right? In an LLC, as long as you remember not to commingle anything, it's not an overall magic shield, but it is a form of protection. And whatever is in that LLC is the only thing that they can possibly even look at, taking advantage of. That's why I formed LLCs. I mean, part of it was about, the Grace team earning money, but really when I started thinking about rental properties and what could happen and the assets that we could lose, it was very important for us to strategically start looking at putting everything into protection mode. And that's really what I want you guys to think about it. An LLC is really a protection mode.
Well, you're right about that. So what happens is, God forbid, if someone gets sues, and there are a lot of people that are sue happy, and people will sue on a contingent plan, and that means we'll just take whatever you guys want to take, and I'll take 33%. I won't charge you, which is how a lot of this happens. Is this will protect your family and everything you've worked for. Like, don't let that just get slipped away because you don't want to spend the time on forming an LLC. Like, honestly, I'll kill you.
And, talk to someone, your tax professional, about what kind of salary you should take. Because I can tell you, a lot of us, before I wasn't taking a salary, everything was in there, and then I just take the money out that I wanted. That's not correct. You need to kind of start looking at what you need to draw once a month, and that's your salary. Doesn't mean that you can't take money, at the end or whatever as you need it, but you need to have that salary accounted for, which is, one thing that I wasn't doing correctly. So you guys need to start doing that like immediately, because then someone like Bill will yell at you. So you weren't doing
Yeah,
it.
but thank God. You know why? They're telling us to protect us
Yes.
at the end of the day, right? It's only strictly to protect us. So I'm saving our file right now. I'm going to upload it right here, but because we have a QR code made just for you all, that if you want to start a company, then an LLC, this has been tried and true. I've been using them for over 8 years. A great option to do it. So
And easy. You put in your information and they take care of everything for you.
yeah, and they're always on demand on the phone. So
Yes.
we have any questions from the group? It doesn't look like we have any waiting right now. Grace,
Yes.
how long into real estate did you form your LLC? Like, how long did it take you?
Like 5 years, because I didn't know. I did not know that I should do it. I think, one of the things that we're trying to help people is um, have them avoid the mistakes that we made. So it wasn't until it was probably 5 or 6 years. And then when I finally did, and I went to my tax accountant and showed him, he's like, well, now you saved all of this money in taxes that I was paying. I was like, holy moly. Instead of like worrying about $40,000 every time, I turned around for the IRS, here it is, yeah, like you, right? This is really
Well, you know what I would do? I've made the mistake. It was like my fourth quarter taxes are due as an agent, and I didn't have it set up properly, and I would use it for Christmas. And then I'd be out of money.
yeah, yeah.
And then January come and I used all the money that I had saved for taxes because I had a good December, and now I was behind. So now I was behind like, $20,000. I'm at like, I just got into this bad cycle, and I want to prevent people from doing that.
100%, 100%. And for those of you that are going to follow us into investments, really, you cannot hold a property in your own name. Please start forming. I mean, I'm walking my daughter through that now. They have their rental condo in Bethesda, Maryland. And, we talked about it last night. I said, look, we need to walk you through this, because right now at the stage of investing that you're in, we need to start protecting you now. And her reaction was like, well, mom, it's only one. And I go, oh no, honey, it's one to start, but let's just think of what can happen with with their family income, with him being a pediatrician in the Army. Their assets are just going to go up. We need to protect them now. So one rental property is enough for you to start thinking about forming an LLC.
Yeah. Okay. So Grace, do you know what we're going to talk about next week? Do you want to share?
Trademarks.
I
Intellectual
mean,
property. I mean, that's one of my favorite things, because um it, what Caryn said last time is, this is what we need to protect. What's in our what we earn and everything else, but also what's in our brains. So when we set up to do something amazing, we need to protect it, not only in LLCs, but doing a trademark. So that way we put the world on notice. This is Caryn's brainchild. This is Grace's brainchild. This is something else that we're going to protect. And that's also something that I did not learn until a couple years ago. So yeah, I mean, I know I'm behind.
I'm going to share. It's actually how I got one of the biggest opportunities I ever got, because I did do it inadvertently. So I'm going to share that story next week. We'll wait till then. But until then, subscribe to our newsletter, like us on Instagram, YouTube, all the places, as we want to keep helping other women like us build more for them. So
Absolutely. Bye,
thank you all. We'll see you next
everybody.
week.